You forget.
So the shop floor guys were better at negotiating over the washers than the purchasing department.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Washers are meaningless, aren't they? They're just so cheap, and there's so many.
So purchasing didn't really bother, but the shop floor guy does.
Yeah, of course.
Because he's getting because he's incentivized on the profit he's making, which is something we haven't talked about yet. But he is looking at the profit of the whole job.
He is.
So there's something in it for him.
And it makes sense to him to make a saving on washers, whereas it doesn't make any sense for the purchasing or the store people to make any saving on washers.
Yes. They only negotiate over the big things.
Of course.
Pareto, etc.
Yeah. 20% of things have 80% of the cost, so that's what you bargain on.
On the big things.
And yet that's a worse thing to bargain on because they're so critical in the operation of the whole product.
Ah, yes.
You'll be some part, big ticket item, that's got to be right. And then the purchasing guy is saying, oh no, can't pay that.
And they buy a cheap one and everybody suffers.
Yeah,
but I've seen that.
Exactly. So we found purchasing quality went up as well in terms of less mistakes made because he knew what I was ordering. Go through the catalogue, choose the thing you wanted. And if it was wrong, the moment it came in, it was returned. But we found much fewer mistakes.
How did the shop floor feel about being told, we want you to do your own purchasing? Did they think, brilliant, at last I can do this? Or did they go, well, I don't want to do that, that's not my job? How did they feel about it?
Furious. Yeah, so pushing back on this idea, we bound ourselves. The shop floor just regarded it as far more risk.
Yes.
And each one of them wanted to be paid as much as the purchasing guy because it now included some purchasing. And that left me a little bit frustrated because, of course, they were doing purchasing at home. So every time they went shopping, they were doing purchasing. Every time they had a build around, they do negotiation. But they some of them had the attitude, well, I'm not paid to do that. But that wasn't all of them. And we ended up saying, well, if there's volunteers who want to try this out, because we experimented our way along. We didn't say, we're right about this, let's get on with it. We said, well, let's try it with Jeff, because Jeff's keen to do something new.
Well, you could start with just one person. Although initially it would put your costs up because you'd still have the purchasing department.
Yes.
But at least you could find out whether it works. And then once you start to roll it out, you can then reduce the purchasing department.
You're never going to find out what works unless you experiment. And it's going to cost you something.
Yeah.
The worst, most difficult, most costly, most fraught with danger experiment is when you do everything all at once for the whole business. We'll centralise data collection. Oh, fantastic. I mean, that's either going to be a huge success or it's going to be the biggest disaster you've ever had and the CEO is going to leave.
One of my customers has just brought in a new production control system that's really complicated.
Fantastic.
And it's been a total disaster. And at the moment they can't find anything in the factory because everything's moved and it's just... So, that's the bad way to do things.
Really, really risky. Little nibbles. Let's try and experiment here. Let's try and experiment there. And what we found... The most critical thing we found were things that we were absolutely sure wasn't the case.
Hang on.